So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Alright, hello everybody. It's me, the Dapper Dinosaur, and I am here, as I am every month, with Erika, the Gutsick Gibbon.
This is me, your gentle and modern local ape.
That's right. So, one of the two species that you can find in the wild of primate in North America.
One of the three. We gotta include the rhesus macaques.
Oh, wait. Well, I was including the rhesus macaques. I think you were including a mysterious blurry primate.
I was including the Gutsick gibbon.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I was
including the gibbon subspecies. My Hylobates nausea.
I was letting the mask slip and pretending that you were a Homo sapien.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
So we got.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
We already have a super chat from Erik the Tyrannoceratops for $4.99 who says, "I got a big test tomorrow at college. Wish me luck. I appreciate the support from all of you. Good luck, Erik. You know
Good
what?
luck.
You are one smart guy. I'm pretty sure you're gonna be okay." But also,
You'll be high.
we had 3 super chats come in for the pre-recorded Kent with Bent, and I promised to read them here. I'm going to start off with that, and then we're going to jump into today's rules, and then we're going to jump right into the video. Okay, for $5 from Sphincter of Doom, nothing to say, just support. Thank you very much, Sphincter of Doom. For $4.99, and these are all just US dollars, from Tyler West, cosmology is Kent's weakest subject, and that is saying a lot. And yeah, it's... Man, imagine being Ken Hoven's worst subject. And just how bad he is at everything, and this is where he's worst. Oof.
You really just don't want to see that ranking, you know?
Yeah. We got from Vandalian 1998 for $4.99. I got stuck on one of those spinner things, merry-go-round once. If it was going as fast as Kent wanted it to go, those poor 4th graders. Yes, that would be a pile of dead 4th graders.
Just root them directly into a cement wall.
Yeah, Ken Hoven has them going on like a merry-go-round that has like a tangential velocity of 100 miles an hour. And it's like, yeah, no, they're not coming back from that. And then he's like, oh, they all go flying off. Yeah, at 100 miles an hour. They're not going to just be like screaming. They're going to be splattered all over whatever they hit.
Oh, Kent.
Yeah, Kent. Well, look, I think we all know that the safety of children is not exactly one of Kent's highest priorities.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I would wager that the side-by-side they've got for the custom tours probably doesn't even have seat belts.
You know, I've seen video of him giving the tour. I don't remember anyone buckling anything, so...
Yeah, Kent doesn't like the law telling him what to do, that's for sure.
Yeah, look, I have some sympathy for that, because, like, I get that impulse, but also, there's this thing called safety. And regardless of what the law is, maybe be safe. It's like, you know, maybe you should wear your seatbelt regardless of whether it's illegal or illegal to do, you know, to not wear it. Like, maybe.
Plus it would free him up to make some sick jumps in that thing.
Oh, I think that would break the thing. And we got 10, and I'm actually not sure what ARS is.
Tell us, Alec. Tell us now.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much for the super chat, but I also need to know what is ARS, because that is not a currency I believe I've had before. And, yeah, that's curious. But anyway, we got rules for this. This is the official Erik with Erika / Kent with Bent drinking rules if you want to play along with the drinking game, which, by the way, we do not encourage. We accept no responsibility or liability for any damage to self, others, or property due to any conduct that you may conduct, I guess, while under the influence of alcohol as a result of this stream. So drink at your own risk and stay safe. But we drink whenever Erik Hovind or Kent, you know, depending, or if they have a guest, maybe that, get something right without it just being a quotation from someone. We also drink when basically I just can't not drink, which is usually because Erik or said something unbelievably dumb.
Those numbers go up a lot at the end of the stream.
Yes. Yeah. Well, as I get a little bit further into it, my tolerance for the stupid goes down and down. And apparently, I have heard from, let's see, that was from Tesla Ranger that ARS is Argentine pesos, and Ben Hoven also put that in there. And Tiktaalik said that my currency is so devalued that what I have is literally worthless. Sorry. Hey, you know what? It increased the amount that I saw on the chat revenue, so don't worry about it. Dino should get to hunt year-round, but have some beer money. Thank you. So let's see. We also drink whenever we hear one of the kaiju that I have programmed into my phone, which hopefully someone can give me a test of, but we'll see. That'll happen eventually. And also, if you are a channel member, which there is a join button, you get access to the channel emojis. And some of them include the Toho Kaiju in question, like Godzilla and Mothra. If you super chat with those, we will also take a drink for that. So we will also super chat. We'll also drink if you super chat and your name has some kind of Toho Kaiju, which would include Kong, I would say.
Yeah, we gotta include Kong at least while I'm here.
Well, I mean, look, Kong has been in what? 1, 2, 3. I think at least 4 Toho movies. It's not just King Kong versus Godzilla.
He's a monkey regular.
Yes. And Cheesy Boy Cheddar for $2 says, good luck with the insanity. Cheers with a whole bunch. What is it? We got a wine bottle, a wine glass. Actually, I guess it's a champagne bottle. A wine glass, a martini glass, what looks like a Mai Tai, and a beer. My goodness, that is a nice variety. All right.
I could go for a Mai Tai. You forgot a rule.
Which rule? Oh, the jokes that don't land.
Yes, that's my favorite rule.
That's because you invented it.
Also, the Venerable Bead says Kong's gonna win, boyo. Yeah, I was telling Dapper that before the stream.
Well, also, we might have an extra guest in today, depending on how the extra guest stream goes, as well as how ours goes. And I am just messaging this guest to let them know.
Nope. Ryan Penzick says ape, not a monkey. Kong is monkey in the meme sense, like monkey MONKE, which is how I utilize it. But if we want to get real technical, he's also an anthropoid primate, and anthropoids are considered to be monkeys, quote unquote, in the technical sense.
Yeah, if you exclude the apes from being monkeys, then suddenly monkey is paraphyletic.
We can't have a paraphyletic group, gang.
Not allowed. Not on this channel. If you want to have paraphily, you can go to other places.
Or you can transport yourself back to the 1800s.
Well, to be fair, they only had vague ideas about common descent, so it wasn't always clear to them what would have been paraphyletic anyway.
It's okay, Ryan. We're just pulling your leg.
Yes, no actual shade. But here we go. Erik Hovind, we've got only about 12 and a half minutes left of this video. We're going to see how far we can get, which probably won't be very far, because I think last time we did like 4 minutes of it.
I'm sure he's talking like... let's just let him go. Let's let him go.
Yeah.
You know, the evolution theory has the sun and the stars evolving before the Earth.
Off with a strong one on that one. I'm taking a drink real quick. Oh my goodness. The theory of evolution has nothing to say about when the sun or the stars formed. Because that is covered by an entirely different scientific theory. That's things like the nebular hypothesis or stellar formation, which are not covered by the theory of evolution. Why would
Can you imagine if we had a drinking rule where we drank every time he just used something ripped from his dad's presentation? Because this is of course a reference to the 7 types of evolution that Kent is always, steaming off about. But also that kind of rule, we would be done in the first 4 minutes.
I might die.
Yeah, I think that's one of those very dangerous. That's also why we don't have a every time they're wrong we drink, because that's also
right. It would just be a constant.
It's a lethal proposition. Like if Dapper said to me, "We're going to do an extreme version where we also drink when he rips from his dad, and we also drink when he says something just wholly incorrect right off the bat, not even extremely incorrect," then I might as well just mainline alcohol.
I mean, basically, yeah. So that's why we're not going to do that, because you know what? I don't want this to be the last Erik with Erika.
That's true. That's true. I'm a small little monkey gang, so we gotta keep the drinks coming at a reasonable pace.
Exactly.
God said he created the earth before he created the suns and the stars. They got it backwards. Actually, when you study it out, just about every single thing that evolution claims is directly opposed
They got
to
it
God's
backwards.
word.
That wasn't a joke, but was that a joke?
No, I don't think that it was a joke, but it's very funny to me that he feels the need to like clarify to the congregation that conventional science got it backwards.
Oh, Erik.
The Bible says he made the oceans before the land. Evolution says he made the land before the oceans.
All right, let's see if this is roughly correct. Like, we'll take the left side is just the literal reading, and I know that it's kind of cut off on you guys' screen. But I'll read them, and then and the thing here on evolution, we'll just pretend that evolution says, consensus science, mainstream science, the science that actually is science. We'll see if those are all correct. Then I think we'll take a drink for it. So Earth before the sun.
I think we don't have a choice. This is a must drink. If only because the foliage at the bottom is like creeping in front of before land mammals and marine mammals.
So let's see. We got Bible, Earth before sun, evolution, sun before Earth. Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of. What would have been the Earth was starting to collect around the same time that the sun was going from like a T-Tauri star to a main sequence star, so roughly. Oceans before land. On the Bible, land before oceans. Yeah, basically. Light before the sun.
Referring to the fact that like continental plates, then yes, then yes, you have to have that in order to have the water has to be sticking to something.
Right, it's not like the Earth isn't just going to be a sphere of water hanging out. Like, I guess there was that happened in a Star Trek Enterprise episode once, I guess. But even that was like a weird artificial thing that aliens made.
If only.
Yeah, John Rapp says, "Good day, mate. Want to get drunk? Sip every time they get something wrong." Yeah, that's why we don't do that.
There's.
Now, this is interesting. It has evolution as sun before light, but that's not actually true. There was a lot of light before the sun, because at one point, the universe was composed almost entirely of just energy, which would have been primarily in the form of electromagnetic radiation. So, you know what? That's done. We're going to drink for it.
I would guarantee you if you asked Erik what a photon was, he would be like, is it a Pokemon? Like, there's no way this man knows what a photon is.
I want to know what photon evolves into when it gets to level 12.
It might be a single evolution, we don't know.
Oh, that's always disappointing, because then you catch it and you're like, well, now what?
It's always this. There are very few singles that I like, but my favorite one is Snorlax.
Well, I mean, there's also the legendaries. Those are always good single evolutions.
That's true, but I personally exclude them from the tree because they're legends. You know? Okay. Yeah, although I was going to say this is off topic, but Pokemon does include evolution of some type.
Well, it's more ontogeny than it is evolution. So it's like okay. So we got
didn't stop hundreds of disgruntled pastors from writing books about how Pokemon is disturbing the youth because of the evolution connotation.
I know of a church in the town I grew up in that they thought that Pokemon was literally straight from the devil, and people reported seeing demonic Pokemon in their yards. Not kidding. I'm just like
that is horrifying.
Yeah. All right. So land plants first according to the Bible. Marine life first according to evolution. Yeah, that's roughly right. Fruit trees before fish. Yeah, fish before fruit trees. Yeah, that is absolutely true. Whales before insects according to the Bible. Insects before whales. Yes, again, absolutely. Yeah. Plants before the sun according to the Bible. Sun before plants by far. Marine mammals before land mammals according to the Bible. And land mammals before marine mammals. Yeah, I would say Erik is right. That yes. The actual evidence says that all of those things are opposite from what a literal reading of Genesis would give you.
Yeah, but I don't even know that. What kind of statements could you even make about marine mammals from Genesis? The fish of the sea? Like, are we just including fish as like something that lives in the water?
Yeah, so creationists rightly like to point out that in the ancient world, the words used for animals weren't like strongly tied to what we would think of as like cladistics or even just, you know, pre-evolutionary taxonomy. They were very much related to just like broad shape and form and where they lived and how they got about. So like the word fish was used for, or the same word was used for fish as for whales for centuries. And in fact, even in early modern English, you'll hear whales referred to as breathing fish. Because people noticed they came up to get air, but they were called fish. Because I mean, look, they look like fish.
So the thing about that that's kind of funny though is that these are the same people that will get into a tizzy when you point out that in some interpretations, right, in some hermeneumatic interpretations, bats are classified as birds, which to them seems like too much of a leap. Like I've heard creationists get upset because that's an incorrect. Like they'll be like, no, it's an incorrect interpretation.
Ah, crap. I just lost Guts a Gibbon because I'm an idiot who doesn't know how to do things right. Sorry about that. I was trying to add our second guest in, but then I realized that when I do that, it just creates a new call, which means it drops the call we were on. Because I know how to use Discord. I've done that before. Sorry.
Sorry, I'm good.
All right, we want to get a little bit more Erik in?
Yes, let's do it.
All right.
The Bible says light came before the sun. Evolution says the sun came before the light. The Bible says the first trees were before the fish. Evolution has it backwards.
I'm not screen share. Look, I totally know what I'm doing. I know how to use technology.
No. Don't worry about it. I'm more inept, so don't even sweat.
Oh my goodness.
Did I drop or did you drop?
I am trying to not be an idiot here, and it's really hard for me because I'm kind of an idiot when it comes to this stuff.
Wait, did I drop or did you drop?
No, it was me. It was me.
Okay.
It's all been me. I'm the one who screws all of it up. But at least I didn't start muted this time.
No. That makes me glad.
Yes.
Hey, Vandalia 1998 says, "Welcome back, Gutsick Gibbon." Listen, you heard the dinosaur. This is not me this time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, still, welcome back. It's nice to have you back now that I got back into the right room.
I'm glad to be here.
Just about every single element diametrically opposed to what God's Word says. It is not the same thing. Evolution and creation do not go together.
I mean, strictly speaking, anti-evolutionary creationism and evolution don't go together. But if you want to take like the broader kind of creationism where it's like, I believe God created the world, but, evolution was part of God's plan and whatnot, then, it's fine. That I don't really care if that's your position. I don't mind.
For Erik, it's all about creating a dichotomy, though. Like, he has to make it so that you have to interpret the Bible in his way, or else you're not really a Christian, right? In order to actually make that severance, thing that he can argue for, right?
He often won't go as far as saying that you're not a Christian, but he'll then follow it up by implying that basically you can't really be a Christian. It's just technically possible. And I think we might have a new person on the call.
Do we have a guest?
Do have a guest. Who's looking for headphones? So we'll continue on with some Erik until that gets sorted out.
Like oil and water, they just simply cannot mix. Creation says that man brought death into this world. Evolution says death is what actually brought man into this world. Creation says God made man. Yeah. Evolutionists are trying to tell us, atheists are telling us these days, that man is the one who actually created God. Evolution is opposed to creation. They are opposite as you can get. You can't mix the two together. The Bible says, "Speak to the earth, and it shall teach thee." What about things here on earth? What does the earth say about its own age? What evidences can we look at? What is the youngest evidence of the age of the earth that can now...
Yeah, that'll go bad poorly. But I think someone has headphones and might be unmuted. Possibly. Are you there? No.
Guest?
Hello? This is going terribly. This isn't working
You
at
can't
all.
win them all, Dapper. You cannot
I
win them
know.
all.
I'm deaf right now. I can't hear anybody. So I think I got an audio problem.
Uh-oh.
Give me a minute.
Oh wait, okay, she couldn't hear us, right?
Okay.
Well, let's see what the
chat.
chat is saying. Okay, Robert Adset says, "And Genesis can't be an origin myth. That's not meant to be literal."
Well, I mean, it can be. So, one of the things I always point out is that the degree to which myths are meant to be literal varies considerably. So, okay, there we go.
Hello, I can hear now.
Oh, yay. Welcome.
Huzzah!
Well, welcome.
What's going on? What did I miss?
Oh, well, first you missed some Mothra, so take a drink from Mothra. You missed us in the first few minutes of us ragging on Erik here. You missed us going over the rules for drinking, and that's about it.
Okay.
But yeah,
This man is just digging his own grave. He just got done saying. First, he quoted a Bible verse that I don't think means what he is saying that it means. But then he was like, "We can just look to the Earth and see what the Earth says about its own age." And then I think he's about to do the pirate coin analogy again. If you haven't heard that one, it's a real.
Well,
see, he grabbed one. He's holding it. He's charging up his attack.
Oh my goodness!
He's getting ready to tell us the coin
his power
analogy
levels
again.
are climbing as we speak.
So
I know,
3
I know.
episodes later, he's finally gonna fire that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We've been waiting on this one for a while. Let's hear him out.
Become a limiting factor on the age of the Earth. Well, I'll give you an example. Earth has a magnetic field around it.
Oh,
Now, the magnetic field around Earth is getting weaker
Oh, goodness.
because magnets over time
Oh, my
lose
goodness.
their magnetism. You ever had a refrigerator magnet that sticks good? And it's there. Over a few years...
Okay, hold on. As a person with
This is a flat earther argument.
it is.
as someone with some electrical training in my background, I'm going to take a quick drink because here's the thing. Permanent magnets like to lose their charge. But let's say you have an electromagnet. As long as you're applying that voltage and that current's flowing through that electromagnet, that's going to keep that charge until it physically breaks down, which is, I mean, it's a coil of metal. It can last indefinitely unless, something happens to it, like you hit it with something or like you pour water all over it or something. And the thing is that the Earth is more like an electromagnet than it is like a permanent magnet, like a bar magnet. So in a bar...
Okay, I've got something to say about this. You go ahead. Finish up, and then I'm going to rant
so
for a sec.
what you have in a bar magnet is you have generally iron atoms, and iron atoms have, a negative side and a positive side, magnetically speaking. So you just line most of them up in the same direction, and it creates a net field because the lines of force are additive that way. Okay, but
this is the gravity doesn't work because magnets do work.
Right. Oh my goodness. So with an electromagnet, it's actually flowing current, electrical current, which generates a coherent magnetic field. And the easiest way to think about it is just with DC current. So if you put current through one direction, the magnetic field will grow. And if you flip the direction of the current, the field will go in the opposite direction. So north and south poles will switch. And the Earth is much more like an electromagnet in that it's generating its magnetic energy actively. It's not just a pile of iron that's sitting with all the atoms pointing in one direction. It's not how Earth's magnetic field works. But
you really think that that Erik Hoven knows that there's more than one kind of magnet, or is that too inconvenient for his analogy?
It's way.
We just got done talking about how Erik Hoven probably thinks a photon is a Pokemon, so he's not exactly caught up with the terminology. So what I was going to say about this is that I've heard the magnetic field argument. I can't believe this is still one being put out because it's based off of something Barnes wrote back in like the 80s. And Barnes was this I think it's Dwayne Barnes, maybe some Barnes. He wrote this stuff on the magnetic field. He was like, yeah, it's got this set life and it's been decaying and can only, once it reaches a certain point, it's going to be gone and you can only take that back so far. What he doesn't understand is that fluctuations in the magnetic field are recorded in the rocks, right? All you have to do is look at like iron formations and look at the pole directions of the iron. If you go down far enough, you'll see them swap. the north to the south, the south to the north, and then they do it again, and then they do it again, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. In fact, the fact that the magnetic field fluctuates and that this is reflected in the geology is a massive freaking problem for the global flood, because what's the argument here? Why do we have so many magnetic pole switches in the rock record if they're all laid down in the global flood? Did the magnetic field swap every 10 minutes? So what's going on here? And that has huge implications.
By the way, that would cause problems. Really serious problems.
It's not going to be a good deal, you know. So the fact that we can track these fluctuations in simulation now, and they reflect what we find. So you know, this is something that is very, very simple as an explanation. And you know, the question is, okay, well, how do these magnetic fields switch? And back in the day, people didn't know that the dynamo model or dynamo effect. The Earth's dynamo, the dynamo model, right? They didn't know that the dynamo model was something that was supported by actual data, but the dynamo model has been brought to fruition over and over and over again. This fact that the Earth essentially is this dynamo that allows the magnetic fields to be generated and to fluctuate. So it has just become a heavier and heavier nail in this coffin, and yet we still hear this shit to this day. I heard a creationist argue this. It was actually Otangelo, if memory serves.
Oh, goodness.
That the magnetic field is still a reason why the Earth can't be as old as scientists say it is. And then it's just like you explain this, and then there's instantly a pivot. No one wants to dig into the iron formations.
No.
What? Oh.
Should we go with a little more?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
What happens to it? It starts falling off, yeah. You first buy the thing, it'll hold about a ream of paper to the refrigerator. BAM! Man, it's there.
Find it? Is he going around just picking up random magnets off the ground? Putting them on his fridge?
Maybe he's sunk a lot of money into like a lodestone mining operation, and that's not going too well for him. And he's kind of bitter about it. So now he likes to just pretend that he's finding magnets.
Instead of using a metal detector, he's just got a piece of iron on a stick, or something that is a piece of steel on a stick that he walks around to try and collect all the magnets.
It's like any survival game you play. It's like the very first weapon. It's just
like the bottle caps.
Yeah, it's like a crude piece of iron on a stick.
It just keeps on sliding down. Magnets lose their magnetism. Same with Earth's magnetic field. It's getting weaker. In the last 150 years, it's declined by about 10%. Wow. Yeah. Almost 40% in the last 1,000 years.
Sure.
It's getting a whole lot weaker than it used to be. Well, if the magnetic field is getting weaker, that means that it used to be stronger. Exactly right.
And if that was a trend you could extrapolate infinitely back into the past, then you might have a point, Eric. Unfortunately, we know you can't.
The magnetic field.
What if you did, though? What would if the Earth just got more and more and more magnetic? Would the magnet start attracting things that aren't magnetic?
Potentially. I mean, look. Basically, an MRI is essentially just a really, really strong magnet. And the reason it can image inside of you is because your flesh is ever so slightly affected by that extremely strong magnetic field. So, I mean, presumably, yeah, eventually it would cause problems.
So how far back would we have to go before it would start causing problems at the rate of 10%? And is it under 6,000 years?
Well, my guess is that Eric is going to say it's right past 6,000 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like if
do the math. Show your work,
11,000 years
Show your work.
Yeah, well.
Give us the math.
A whole lot stronger than what it currently is today. Well, how far back can you go before that starts causing a problem? First of all, I want you to realize something. The Earth cannot be billions of years old because the magnetic field is getting weaker. You go back too far in time and you got some serious issues with Earth because of Earth's magnetic field. Also, this points out that carbon dating won't work.
What?
Because the magnetic field is getting weaker. Probably only about 25,000 years max for the age of the Earth. But it shows us carbon dating can't work either.
Why?
I know you've heard radiometric dating proves the Earth is billions of years old.
Oh, okay, hold up. First I'm going to take a drink because I have no idea why this is a problem for carbon dating.
I've never heard
He is
that before.
totally pivoted.
Yeah.
That's a big drink because
Yeah.
that's also weirdly original, but in a bad way.
I'm also taking a drink because no one is using carbon-14 to prove the Earth is billions of years old.
Do you catch what he did there, though, right? He pointed out a hole in his argument and then pivoted to something completely different.
Yeah.
Big shout out to oh god, it sent me into war flashbacks of your conversation with G-Man the other day, Dapper, where G-Man was like several times he was like, has carbon dating been used to date dinosaurs? And I don't know how many times you were like, no, it hasn't. Usually G-Man is more on top of it than that. Maybe he was having a weird day.
The closest I came to agreeing that it was I said, well, maybe in the case of modern birds, but I don't think that's what we're talking about.
No, I honestly, I couldn't make it through that entire conversation. I was having a bad day already, and I was like, this is just making me angrier.
Yeah, G-Man, if you're watching, I'm not saying that we're not going to have more conversations, but I would like, if we do, for our conversations to go much more like the first conversation that I had with you on my channel, and much less like that one. But
I've had great conversations with G-Man before. That's why I'm wondering if he was just having a weird day. Yeah, I don't know if he just couldn't. I don't know. You never know what's going on in someone's life.
Yeah, I mean there is that too, and I know that if
my conversation with him was a little different too.
Oh, I don't want to speculate on G-Man's personal life, but I do know that occasionally he does have some troubles here and there. So
everybody has their days.
Yeah.
Everybody has their days.
Doesn't. Okay, I don't have time to go into all the carbon dating elements right now, but let me just tell you, carbon dating,
all of the carbon dating elements? You mean carbon and nitrogen? Both 14, Eric? Is that what I'm taking?
All of them. There's so many. They have the best elements. There's so many elements.
Oh my god.
We have.
I don't get to do my Trump impression anymore, so I'm slipping it in where I can.
Oh my goodness.
Well, the thing is that it's like that's if you ever encounter a creationist kind of in the wild, how they differentiate between general radiometric dating and carbon dating is going to be a serious tell as to how much they know about the stuff that they're preaching.
Yeah.
That's like not knowing the difference between those two is like basic level. That's like a Hovind employee level of understanding.
We have Rodent No Last Name for $5 who said, if the magnetic if the magnetic field was stronger in the past, then Magneto could defeat the X-Men. Boom, young Earth proven.
Atheist.
Oh man. Yeah. That's it.
Would you be able to melt if the magnetic pull was so strong? Would you be able to melt any metal, or would all metal already be melted?
I suppose.
I have questions.
I suppose if it's strong enough, like just the compression forces alone could actually start really causing some internal friction to happen. So maybe. Right. Maybe.
Right. So you'd have some weird problem with the adamantium.
Yeah. Well, that is one of the weaknesses that Wolverine's few weaknesses is he's basically useless against Magneto.
And extreme heat.
Yeah.
And he would get his ass kicked by Nightcrawler.
Well, yeah, but Nightcrawler would never fight because they're best friends.
Except for the time that Nightcrawler became the Pope.
Well, yeah, that whole thing is weird. Let's keep going.
Okay, well, I don't even want to know how he did that, being all blue and having little horns and stuff.
Look, the Catholic Church...
looking like Satan and actually having a father from actual hell? Yes.
Look, the Catholic Church is pretty consistent on, it's what you do with your life that matters, not how you were born.
Jesus forgives all.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a Mewtwo quote. It is not. I see now. It is not the.
It is. That's
from the circumstances of one's birth.
But it's not like Mewtwo was the first. A lot of ideologies have been going with that for a long time now.
I think Mewtwo's
the only one that matters.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Out doesn't work. Okay, they carbon dated a mammoth. The one part of the mammoth was 15,000 years old. Another part of
they were too different. No, gosh.
I hate this one. I hate this one so much. Anyone can do this, okay? If you go to the trouble of tracking down the specific claim, the specific paper that Erik is ripping off of Kent, who is referencing it, you will find that never happened.
Yep.
It just did not occur.
Nope. There were 2 different specimens, and if I remember correctly, one of them was actually invalid because it had been soaked in resin.
It was, and it was. But the point is that like the hard part about this is that Kent had the paper. Like he's pulled the paper up on presentations, and he can't even get that right.
Oh, Kent knows better. I know of people who pointed it out to him and actually with the reference, and he was like, oh, yeah, maybe I should take that slide out. He doesn't.
Oh wow, maybe I should take that slide out, but not adjust what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Great.
I think
Thanks, Kent.
Steve pointed out to him. I want to say that this is the one Steve pointed out to him, but I
think
can't.
it is. I guess we could ask him at some later date and get confirmation.
Oh my
I'm pretty
god!
sure this is.
I hate this one so much because it's so. All of these are very easy to correct, but there's a huge difference between misunderstanding a concept like how magnetism works and citing a study that has been done and then saying it says something it doesn't say.
Yeah, just basically straight up lying about the very basic facts. Also, Sphincter of Doom for $5 says, professional creationists aren't very good Christians given that lies make baby Jesus cry. This is accurate. Yes.
Yeah, Jesus would be throwing one hell of a tantrum listening to this then, because this is such a rough one. Listening to him do the geology is actually somehow worse than the preaching.
I actually kind of want to know, like, let's say that Biologos is right, and so Erik and Kent die, and then they reach like the final judgment, and God's like, so what's with all this nonsense that you've been spewing about me? What's the deal there? Why would you lie to people like this?
God sits them down. He's like, you realize monkey is my favorite animal, right? Why do you think I modeled you after it?
Yep. And then, according to Biologos, became one.
Yeah, God, Biologos is fine. I like.
Oh yeah, no problem. I no shade on Biologos.
Yeah, I think they're great. I think they actually give a shit, for lack of a better term. And peaceful science is awesome too. I know Swamidass doesn't agree with everything Biologos proposes, because I think Biologos is cool with like a non-literal Adam and Eve. I don't remember.
Yeah, Swamidass is pretty big on there being a genealogical Adam and Eve or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but I think so. I have his book. I've been meaning to read it.
I generally point Christians who are, like getting around away from anti-evolutionism towards Biologos, because it's like, look, there you go. Just that's a great resource. But and Creation Myths says, late, how bad so far? Oh, it's been. I mean, it's not as bad as the last live Kent with Bent I did. That was brutal, but it's still pretty bad.
The thing is, I'm not as inoculated against this level of stupid. Like, you've been doing Kent with Bent long enough that you've got some serious antibodies.
Yeah, we did episode 50.
Yeah, I just don't. This is what, 9 for me, 8. I think I missed one, but it's like I don't. I cannot understand. The graphics in this presentation tells me it's at least like 2008 when this was recorded. So the question therein is, has Erik never looked into anything that his dad has said ever, like even tangentially? I mean, you can put this into Google, and it's like the first thing that comes up on Scholar.
You know what? If this is 2008, then I think what's actually happening here is this is the period where Kent Hovind is realizing he can't go and give talks because he's basically going to be stuck in prison for a while. And so Erik is stepping in to do the thing that people would be paying Kent to do. Now they're paying him to do the exact same thing. Let's see. We have $5 from Sphincter of Doom, who says, Mankey evolves into primate. Checkmate creationists. That's accurate.
I like primate.
Bringing that Gen 1 fighting type in here. Good stuff. All right.
Cross chop, baby.
We also have, for 50, Argentinian pesos? Something.
Yes.
I don't know why. Wouldn't it be an ARP then if it's peso? Whatever. I don't care. Fine. It's pesos. From 50 from TikTok with no message. Thank you very much for the support. It really is appreciated. And actually, we have some announcements about support towards the end of the stream.
Same
Also,
mammoth.
side note to echo Monk Mayfair, there's 51 people watching and there's 24 likes. What's going on out there?
yeah.
I'm coming for everyone.
Yeah, we need to get some more likes in here.
Track you down and ask you nicely.
Exactly. Oh, TikTok says that for some reason he can't seem to link his super chats to end the comment. That's odd. So I'll just read his next message, which says, "Oh no, no more curse words allowed. Thanks, Erika. Yeah, Erika, way to blow it. Not
Wait,
that I don't expect Chesh to blow it.
I thought we were allowed to use curse words as long as they weren't F-bombs.
Oh yeah, actually, I thought maybe you had used an F-bomb. You just didn't. Yeah, we are. You can say, you can say shit.
It hasn't been me yet.
Yes.
I think it's just
I
been
ruin
shit
everything.
so far.
All right, here we go.
I haven't hung out with Erika
41,000
in
years
so
old.
long, and this is great.
They carbon dated another mammoth. The front half was 29,000 years old. The back half
Again,
was
didn't happen. Just
44,000
taking a
years
drink.
old.
I drank another
Slow
time
birth?
because I had to listen to it twice.
Wow. That was
You
tough.
don't get
for those
more
few
looking like a
thousand
monkey
years.
than what you
Man.
just did.
No.
Well, unless it was Ken Ham doing it, then it would look more like a monkey.
Fair.
Yeah,
Fair enough. Fair.
that will
Wait,
never-
if we get that in slow motion, like,
It will never not be funny that Ken Ham looks like a
Looks like a chimpanzee.
He looks like a chimp. Yeah, but I mean, he actually has almost a more impressive brow ridge than some that I've seen.
Look,
and he's covered in hair.
if we found out that like Kent's like maternal grandfather was like a full-blooded chimpanzee and like his mom was a humanzee or something, like I wouldn't be shocked. Like he might just be literally 1/4 chimp. Who knows?
That one meme that shows him like anamorphing into a chimpanzee is just like it's so seamless. Whoever did that work did a very good job, because I looked at that and I was like, wow. I mean, if you didn't accept evolution before.
All right, let's get to some Erik over in it, who looks less like a chimp than Ken Ham.
He does.
Carbon dating, the bottom line is, doesn't work. And because of the variables in Earth's magnetic field, that's just one more element to show
Explain
us that carbon
how,
dating simply
Erik. You haven't
does
explained
not
how.
work.
Take
Some
a
people
drink
say,
for
well,
that.
the Earth has reversed its magnetism.
I drank too.
No, it hasn't.
and he never went back to the plot hole he pointed out in his own argument.
Yeah.
He said that if you went backwards, there would be problems, but didn't explain what the problems were, why, and why because that would demonstrate that what he's saying is ridiculous. So he obfuscated off to this other diatribe about carbon dating that was completely unrelated by trying to loop in that carbon dating wouldn't work because magnets, which he didn't explain or actually address. He just said random facts about carbon dating and nothing relating it back or explaining how it had anything to do with magnets, nor what the effect of carbon dating would be if you were to follow magnetism back the way he said. And so now he's just moved on to about the reversal of the poles and has completely sideswiped the nonsense he said before.
Yeah. All right. So here he's going to deny the magnetic reversals, and I want to hear.
I am shocked.
Yeah, I want to hear what his excuse is.
It has
so
not. What they find on the ocean floor is what they're referring to. They find areas of strong magnetism and weak magnetism. They don't ever find a place where it has literally reversed its magnetism. They say it goes through these cycles where it reversed.
All right. Well, we're going to take 2 quick drinks because that was done for double reasons.
Oh my god, I'm gonna have to go get another drink soon.
Okay.
I don't have enough alcohol for this.
So the first reason that is dumb is because if that's true, Erik, it defeats the entire point that you're trying to make, that the magnetic field just goes slowly down and has never had, periods where it has strengthened. If it didn't strengthen, you wouldn't get bands of higher magnetism in the rocks.
No, you know what? You know what he's gonna say? I guarantee you, he's gonna say some bullshit about how there were areas of high and low magnetism during the flood, and that these were areas where, like, I don't know, some shit about the fountains of the Great Deep bursting open. Like, there's gonna be some flood-related magic going on.
I think he might just skip over it.
He might, but if pushed, I bet somewhere you get him saying, "Oh, yeah, the flood was a crazy time. Like, what are you gonna do?"
We have Milo.
Hands up defensively.
We have Milo Island in the chat who says, "I think Dapper just wants to drink." I mean, there is a reason that I made this into a drinking game, and it's not because I want to have no drinks tonight.
I Beowulf says magnets getting weaker equals carbon dating bad. That's just science. Great. Also, I wanted to compliment you on your rant a minute ago there, Josh. I was going to say it, but then Dapper pressed play.
Oh.
Time goes in, or tides go in, tides go out. You can't explain that.
Never a miscommunication.
Magnets get stronger, magnets get weaker. You can't explain that.
The other reason it's dumb is because the magnetic field strength actually goes negative in some areas. That's why they're called a reversal. The atoms are pointing the opposite direction. If you hold a compass up to them, your compass will go back and forth as you go across east to west on these rocks in the ocean. There's from, the C4 spreading with, mid-Atlantic ridge, which is where we see this most easily. You can also see it on land in certain kinds of igneous rock, but it's most easy to see in the Atlantic Ocean because you get it mirrored on both sides as the C4 spreads out, widening the Atlantic Ocean and narrowing the Pacific. So, yeah. All right, let's get a little bit more. That was the second reason I drink.
Says, no. They find strong and weak magnetism. And that's simply because hot basalt loses its magnetism. So that's what they're really seeing is areas of strong...
Yeah, no. Hot basalt will lose its magnetism, but you would have to explain why it didn't lose it uniformly if this is going to be your explanation. It should just be it gets weaker the farther from the center of the mid-Atlantic ridge you get. But that's not even what you're showing, Eric.
Also, if it's reversing strong and weak, and you have strong basalt after weak basalt far from the mid-Atlantic ridge, how the hell is it still hot, Eric? That's not how seafloor spreading works.
Yeah, everything about this, it doesn't even make internal sense. It's just internally incoherent. Nothing about this makes sense.
Yeah, there's definitely
and
some,
weak magnetism. What about this? The Earth today is spinning at about 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. But we gotta...
Wait, is Eric about to go full flurf?
I hope so. I have a question before you hit play again, though.
Okay.
Is this his normal speaking speed, or is he sped up right now?
I don't have him sped up.
Okay.
I can't even throw shade. My voice is far too nasally and fast to run those.
No, I wasn't I wasn't trying to throw shades. I was actually just curious if this was if this is him normally, or if we've got him sped up, or if we should speed him up, or whatever. I was just wondering.
Yeah, I've not sped him up. It's possible that the video source that I got this from had him sped up on their end, but yeah. I can't confirm that either.
From the Erik content that I've consumed, I think he's just a very fast talker.
Yeah, that could be.
I speak quickly, so
I
was just curious.
Problem. It's slowing down. The Earth is gradually getting slower and slower. That's a problem. Matter of fact, several times they have added seconds to the clock. They've had to add.
Why is it a problem? Explain why it's a problem.
Hey, but first,
he hasn't explained why anything. He keeps saying things are problems and then goes on some diatribe, but doesn't actually explain why it's a problem.
First of all, I am going to drink. It is true that leap seconds have been added. So, good job, Erik.
There's a first for everything.
Actually, is that is our first Erik got something right drink. Wow. We're almost at the halfway point, and we had not had one of those yet.
So the thing is he says these things like they're giant slam dunk gotchas, right? Not knowing that conventional science understands that days used to be shorter.
Yeah.
And incorporate that often into literature.
I think we've found reasons in fossils where we can look at daily growth patterns in reforming organisms and things like that, and also annual patterns to say things like, in the very early Cambrian, the length of the day was probably around a little bit more than half of what it is now. I don't know. I don't know. This is like second law of thermodynamics level argument. I bet you. You know who hates that argument is Sal. Because
I know he does. Yeah.
Sal knows enough about the second law of thermodynamics and thermodynamics in general to be like, well, that's just stupid. And I love that about Sal.
Sal gets credit.
In case anyone doesn't know, this is Sal Cordova, who is a young Earth creationist that we are on good terms with.
We like Sal. Sal's a good guy.
Yep. And he's always apologizing for having to take care of his mom, and I'm just like, dude, stop apologizing for that. Everyone on the internet or any decent person on the internet, I'll say that, is totally okay with you taking a break to go tend to your ill mom. Like, please.
Like, oh my, no, I know.
Yeah.
If anything, it honestly makes me respect them more.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a whole lot of work for sure.
Clock to have the clocks accurate. Wow, well, we're slowing down. Not by much. And if you go back just 6,000 years, no big deal. Adam and Eve might have had like a 24-and-a-half-hour day, okay? No big deal if creation...
Wait, what? A 24 and a half? That's exactly backwards.
Yeah, thank you. I was gonna say, tell me we're on the same page. The Earth is slowing down, so the days used to be long.
I'm taking a drink for that. What is happening? That's like negative positive numbers level easy.
The thing is, when I listen to Erik, and once I've had one drink listening to Erik, I start to feel like I'm stroking out listening to him talk. The stuff that he says is incomprehensible at times.
Also, for $2 from Sphincter of Doom, we have Erik emulating Insane Clown Posse's understanding of magnets. It's true, magnets. How do they work?
How do they work?
It sounds to me like Erica's describing the absolute confusion that we get every so often when someone says they're an agnostic atheist, and everybody just goes, "What?" So Erik opens his mouth, and everybody goes, "What?"
Look, that's a conversation I don't want to have on my channel. Because my goodness. Everyone,
I only bring it up because I was just talking about it yesterday, and it was head bashingly frustrating.
Every time that comes up, people just get like way more involved than I ever want to be involved in that kind of conversation. Like personally, they feel like personally attacked, and I'm just like, nope.
I'm just not informed enough on the topic, so whenever it comes up, I'm like, I'm a head out, you know? Like, I'm just like, oh,
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, it doesn't make sense. You hear somebody say that, well, that's a big problem if you go backwards. What? It's just that kind of a statement where it's just, I don't have any idea what you're trying to say right now.
Well, let's get a little bit more Erik, and we'll see how much more he can bungle just plain old addition and multiplication, I guess.
I promise.
But you want me to believe that the Earth has been here for billions of years?
Yes, Erik.
Now we got a problem.
Why?
Because the winds on Earth are created by the Coriolis effect because of the Earth spinning. Well, you go back in time and get the Earth spinning a little bit faster. You go back just a few million years, the Earth would have been spinning so fast that the winds from the Coriolis effect would be 500 miles an hour.
Show your math on that one, Erik, because first I'm going to
Show
take a drink.
Please.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
drinking for that too, because that feels like the same. That feels like the same thing as the lunar recession argument to me, which is just like them taking a simple equation and applying it to a hyper complex system, which you cannot do.
So basically,
that's a flat Earth level argument.
It is, yeah.
That's like, how do you get plane from here to here? And it's like you just drew a straight line from here to here. There's a look at this graph.
Yeah. Look.
What is it, Dapper?
Wait,
I'm sure
you were here when Kent went full flurf, and now you're here for Erik going full flurf. You come on the show, and the creationists go full flurf.
The feelings are probably very familiar, Chesh, because what is it you say, Dapper? Young Earth creationism is just flat Earth with slightly better geography?
Yeah, right? Basically. Yeah. Young Earth creationism is the same thing as flat Earth. They're just better at geography.
Geometry, I think.
Well,
geometry.
They're better at geometry, too. Well, although, then again, Kent Hovind being like, I don't know about that whole stellar parallax thing, maybe he's not better at geometry.
Has he seriously...
He says
seriously balked at parallax?
He balks at parallax, but then he just says, but I'm willing to like accept it for the sake of the argument. Like he doesn't argue against it. He's just like, I don't know, that's a pretty thin triangle. And it's like, yeah, and
yes. That is true. It is a very thin
This piece of paper is really thin. I can't trust what's on it.
Yeah, boy.
Oh man.
It's just lines. It's just lines.
Kent likes his triangles like he likes his women. Thick.
I don't understand why they gotta go flurf when I'm here. I don't do flurf stuff.
You have coaxed it out of him. We don't get this much bad math from him.
Somehow, whenever you're on, it gets really bad. Like, remember that time it was the 1,000 subscriber special, and there was this stuff about like white holes and time standing still inside the singularity, and therefore the universe is like 13.5 billion years old, but the Earth is only 6,000. And we were all just like, "What is even happening?"
What is this? This is the Twilight Zone. We've gone from misunderstanding like more basic shit to applying your massive misunderstanding to things that are way more complicated that you're remotely close to. Why are we here? How did we get here?
I barely understand how science works in principle, but let's jump into general relativity.
I was playing hopscotch and I fell into another dimension when I landed on the 5. I don't know what's going on.
All right, let's get some Erik in. Actually, you know what? We're going to take our quick intermission. Instead of getting a little bit more Erik in, I'm going to refresh my beverage, and we can all meet back here in just a few minutes. So I will talk to you guys on the other side of that. Oh, Nani? Dare? Oh, Gojira desu ka? Hai, Gojira-san. Hai. All right, we are back. So I hope you guys enjoyed that intermission, and I hope that my co-hosts here have refreshed their beverages if necessary. All right.
I am good.
So let's get some more Erik in here. And I was just telling my co-hosts that towards the end there will be some updates about things like Patreon and what's coming next for videos and stuff. Because I just finished a video like 20 minutes before I got on here.
That explains what happened to the dinosaurs. They got blown off, man. They couldn't handle that kind of wind. What about the Sahara Desert in Africa? The Sahara Desert...
I just want to point out that first, that was a terribly unfunny joke. I'm taking a drink.
I'm gonna drink too, because those cartoons were also not that cute.
Yeah, and first it's the moon bashing the dinosaurs to death, then it's the wind blowing them off the Earth. What is it with creationists and trying to make up reasons for the dinosaurs going extinct? I just don't get it.
It's so that they can make anything seem more ridiculous than a global flood killing them all.
Which is even more ridiculous than getting brained by the moon.
Which is even more ridiculous in its own context, because in its own context, the dinosaurs shouldn't have died to the flood.
Yeah, weren't they on the Ark? And then Ken Ham's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's another really funny part. They're on the Ark and then they get off, and then God was just like, I kind of wish I hadn't put them on. Let's just let them go extinct.
Right.
Yeah, God's just like, I changed my mind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll get the things like, oh, well, they couldn't survive in this horrible post-flood world. It's like, okay, but like, planocranids, like, hoofed crocodiles that chased animals down across the land, they could survive just fine, but no, the dinosaurs, there's nothing they can do, man. They just can't.
Or like Xenarthans, like you gonna tell me that the three-toed sloth like outperformed fitness-wise? Like,
yeah, Utahraptor has nothing on the sloth.
Yeah, like that's just a fun. That's funny in concept, like the gag, but
yeah. All right, here we go.
The desert is growing.
Oh no!
Well, how long has it been growing? It's got a prevailing wind pattern causing it to grow about 4 miles a year. You go backwards
but it
in
shrinks
time.
too.
Yeah, that's the thing. We also know it shrinks. Oh, we have $5 from Sphincter of Doom. Clearly, the super strong magnetic field pulled the meteorite into the Yucatan to kill the dinosaurs. Oh, Sphincter of Doom has it figured out.
Actually, he's accidentally kind of right about this with the Sahara. Because if it shrinks down to the point where it's not a desert anymore for a little while, he's right, it's gone, it's not a desert anymore.
Yeah, I mean...
And then it expands back out into a desert. It
right,
turns into a desert again.
We know that on the course of like tens of thousands of years that the Sahara goes back and forth from basically being a jungle to a desert.
I think it's a 20,000-year cycle.
Yeah, I believe that's roughly right.
Does that count as him being right, though?
I mean, do you want a drink?
Yeah, but
okay.
I don't want to give him the credit for it.
Well, I mean, he is right that the prevailing winds are driving the growth of the Sahara.
He's like kind of right. Sort of. In a way.
He's just wrong that means that it had to start growing at the beginning of the world because it's an inexorable force. The Sahara Desert will eventually take over the entire planet.
Time from what it is today to what it used to be.
Yeah, no.
Sahara.
It's just all going to be sand.
Desert planet.
And I hate sand. It's coarse and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Set the next trilogy here. We always got to have a desert planet.
Well, I mean, A New Hope did do a lot of filming in North Africa. So
I'd love to see it someday. Not A New Hope, North Africa.
The Sahara Desert started growing about 4,000 years ago.
I like how he's just like, past. Just past. Okay, sure. I'm sure that at some point that was the past extent of the Sahara Desert. Whatever.
Yeah,
No dates.
I imagine that HBJ Earth Science from 1989, page 277, probably had a bit more to say about this particular
yeah, probably.
graph.
Oh, and it's about 4,000 years old.
Doesn't that fit perfectly with the creation worldview? It does. Because
Eric, you can't just point to things that might be about 4,000 years old and then declare that they couldn't have that for the reason because something is 4,000 years old, therefore flood. That's not how it works. I'm taking a drink.
Did you guys notice that Egypt is about 4,000 years old?
It's actually older.
That fits the flood model. Yeah. But that was bad dating. The older stuff is bad dating for sure.
That's
like
the thing. Creationists are like, oh, hey, our written records in Egypt go back like 4,400 years. It's like, actually, they go more like, almost 5,000 years. And
it's the same. It's the same.
Talking about China.
Yeah, it's the same shit with carbon dating, though. They'll be like, yes, carbon dating confirms the Dead Sea Scrolls really are the oldest copies of blah, 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 blah. And then they'll be like, yeah, but carbon dating stops working at 6,000 years precisely.
Boom. After that, no. And the other thing is, we have pre-dynastic cultures that clearly share continuity with the dynastic Egyptian civilization that we have ruins of.
the Egyptians are corroborated with all of those neighboring cultures. Like, I mean, God, and all throughout their history, Middle Kingdom Amarna letters, like that's with Babylon in particular, but plenty of others as well. And believe it or not only does that corroborate traditional Egyptian chronology, but it does the same for the Babylonians. So
Yep. Yeah, all of these first civilizations that start up somewhere around like 5,000 to 4,500 years ago, they are all preceded by extensive archaeological evidence of preceding cultures that are basically just their ancestors. They have similar pottery. We can see changes in technology slowly over time. We can see increasing urbanization over time as they get better and better at, agriculture, which then allows specialization of labor, which then allows larger settlement. Like, it all keeps going back. There's no place where, like, oh, suddenly Egyptians showed up after the flood and started just building a civilization. Like, that's not what the archaeology is.
They grew out of the ground like orcs.
yeah, had to be. Also, they're always like, we know that the Great Pyramids of Giza are a huge problem for young Earth creationism, but, and then they insert some nonsense population growth to explain it, but they just ignore every megalithic structure prior to that. Like, every man-made huge rock structure prior to the Pyramids of Giza do not exist in this world.
Listen, if it wasn't written down in the Bible, it wasn't real. They didn't exist. China did not exist. That entire eastern part of the world did not exist.
Or the far west, like the Mesoamericans, like they just weren't there.
I want Erik's take on Göbekli Tepe. When was that built, Erik?
I am sure it will be similar to Shadow Dancers, who I have not heard from in a while, which is that it's just dated wrong.
Isn't
no, what he's gonna say is like, that would be a real problem for creationists, but magnets, some unrelated diatribe, and then never actually address that. That's a real problem. Why is it a problem?
All right, let's get some more, Erik.
The creation worldview says 6,000 years ago, God created the heavens and the earth. 4,400 years ago, there was a flood that destroyed the world. It's real hard to have a desert underneath of a flood. Okay.
Then how do you explain all of those evaporite deposits in the middle of your flood rocks, Erik? Just gonna put that out there, because I don't know if you guys know, but every salt mine ever basically proves the global flood isn't the cause of the rock layers on Earth.
Oh my God! Not even just the salt mines. That all of the marine transgressions, all of the limestone, all of the chalk, which is a subset of limestone, but any kind of fine grained material that has to settle out of water. Dolomite's bad news. Boy, howdy, is it bad news? Granitic intrusions, those suck. How are you gonna deal with those granitic intrusions through all your flood rock?
Mm-hmm.
Desert dune structures. Just
Aeolian sandstone. I guess you can have wind-borne sediments underwater somehow. Yeah, it's...
Oh my God.
Yeah, basically everything... Not everything. Virtually all of geology is just like, no. The global flood does not explain anything. Here we go.
Luca says, I tried to talk to talk about that with SFT. Which part, Luca? Göbekli Tepe?
Oh, that would be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
I would like to look if you had like a link or anything to that, post it. You got that, Wrench? That would be interesting.
Yeah, let us know.
Okay, you don't call them deserts then. Okay, so the desert had to start after the flood. You guys with me? Yeah. Okay, so the desert has to be less than 4,400 years old.
Okay, but there are older deserts. The Atacama Desert is like 100 million years old. It's been a desert in that part of like South America since like dinosaurs were like, it's ridiculously old. It's the oldest desert on Earth as far as I know. So why don't you talk about that one, Erik? Why is the dating for the Sahara so good, but the dating for the Atacama Desert, no, that can't be right. You can't have a desert under a flood. Well, apparently you did, because it's been a desert for millions of years. And don't quote me on the 100 million years. I just know it's very old. It might be tens of millions of years. I'm not sure. But it's way older than the Sahara.
Yeah.
And I just, you just cherry picked to something. It's like, oh, I found a thing that's 4,000 years old. I'm just going to accept the general consensus dating for this thing because it's convenient for me. And instead, I'm just going to not talk about all the things that are demonstrably older. And that's why I'm taking a drink, because that is such a dishonest argument.
Yeah, I'll drink for that too. And an additional one that's fun to talk about there is that we find clams on top of Mount Everest, and it's like yes, and then they'll be like, haha, I guess that means that the water covered Mount Everest. Then it's like, now wait just a second. Don't you hold that all of the continental plates like moved around, zooming, if you will, around the surface of the mantle at race car speeds?
And
So
then
it's like-
clams had time to set up shop there.
Yeah, they had time to set up shop there, right? As everything is crashing into it, because the Himalayas only exist because of the Indian plate crashing into the Asian plate. I don't know the exact names. Whatever.
It's the
two
Eurasian
plates
plate.
crashed together.
Yeah, it's the Indian plate and the Eurasian plate, yeah.
Indian plate and Eurasian plate. So it's like, what's the order here? And that's why I love when RJ debates creationists, because he always asks for the specifics. Tell me in your model how this happened. Instead of
Right.
wasting all your time trying to dunk on evolution, which frankly, people who do legitimate science don't even know that creationists are still around. Like they don't,
Yeah,
they
you
don't
told
take
me,
notice.
you mentioned that they still exist to some of your professors, and they were like, wait, really? People are still
Yeah,
doing the
they-
whole YEC thing? Huh, weird.
Well, it's funny because a lot of them used to go and dunk on them at their conventions. So some of my anthropology professors used to do that, and they were like, "Oh wow, they really are still at it." Like outside of the answers in Genesis, they didn't know that these guys were still up to no good. I mean, like they don't have a model. There is no model. There's no there. Right?
No, yeah. There's just, it's all just vague platitudes. And by the way, the Venerable Bede said that the Atacama Desert only began about 30 million years ago. The basin formed about 200 million years. Yeah, that's why I was like, don't quote me on these numbers. I just know it's millions.
So the answer to what Erika was saying so you're saying that all of water at some point covered the top of Mount Everest, and the answer is yes, but no.
Yeah, it just wasn't the top of a mountain at the time.
Yeah, it did, but it wasn't at that height.
Right.
Which is why, boy, it's curious when you scale back the crashing of those two plates into one another, and you try to cross corroborate the species of clams, the bivalve species that you have. You match it with other deep time varieties existing like perfectly at sea level, demonstrating how cool plate tectonics are.
Yeah. Oh, and Tesla Ranger says it has experienced extreme hyper-aridity for 3 million years in regards to the Atacama Desert. So, yeah, why is... I wish Erik were around so I could ask him why he accepts the conventional date for the beginning of the current spread of the Sahara, but not about the Atacama Desert. I would really be curious.
The methods are the same.
Yeah.
I said this the other day on one of David Neff's streams, and I was referencing how genetics works for relatedness only to a certain point if you're a creationist. And I think the same thing is true with carbon dating. And since the processes are identical and they don't have a reason to suggest that suddenly the way that this process works stops there, it's analogous to being like, yes, I believe in gravity, but only up to 8 feet. And then providing no reason as to why once you get above 8 feet, it stops
Don't
working.
give them ideas.
Okay, we have for $5 from Sphincter of Doom, we have vague platitudes and special pleading. Those are kinds of evidence. Which, of course, is a play on a Lionel Hutz from, I think, season 3 or 4, something like that, of The Simpsons. It's one of the good seasons, back before they kind of lost their way. All right, let's get some Erik in.
And that evidence fits perfect with what God's Word already told us. We have oil in the ground that is under tremendous pressure.
But is it made of blood?
Scientists that study the rock
God.
over the oil that's under like 20,000 psi, 20,000 pounds per square inch of pressure, they study the rock over the top of the oil, and they find, you know what? The rock could only handle that amount of pressure for about 10,000 years.
Oh my
No.
God, citation needed.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to take a drink. And I wish Colton were here for this, because he could go on a long rant about it, and it would be a pretty good one, but I'm going to take a drink. Okay, so... in oil exploration, the overburden does in fact tell you how much pressure the oil is going to be under, and it does vary, but it is usually very high. However, there is no time limit given on how long rocks can maintain oil. There's essentially, if the rocks are impermeable to oil, then it's essentially indefinite. The oil can just stay there effectively forever. The question is, when you tap into the well, what are you going to have to do to make sure that that's safe and it's not going to just come flooding up and like the well isn't going to collapse and things like that? That's the concern there. The concern isn't that the oil is going to burst out of the ground spontaneously. We also have Vandalian 1998 for 5, who says, YECs are right, water did cover the Earth, but it was more around 700 million years ago, not 4,000 years ago, and more like snow, ice, or slush than actual water. Yeah, you know, snowball Earth, I guess that could be likened to a global flood. Also, I'm still seeing a gap of like over 10 between likes and viewers, so come on guys, stop slacking.
I need to take this opportunity. I swore the other day that I would take every opportunity that I can to dunk on David McQueen for the blood and oil thing. And I saw some people mentioning blood and oil in the side comments before, so that lets me know that it is catching on and people are catching wise to the shenanigans of David McQueen, who, by the way, has been on Standing for Truth's channel like a bazillion times over the past couple months.
Of course.
This is a man that is the resident flood geologist over on the old SFT channel, and this is also a man that believes that if you tested oil, you would find human blood in it because of the nature of the global flood killing everything and also being responsible.
The flood crushed people into oil.
Guys, this is the top brass that we're dealing with here.
I
The
will say,
top
though,
brass.
Blood Oil sounds like a good name for like a death metal band. So if anyone wants to start the Blood Oil band, let me know. I will shill for you.
It's just so easy to test this. Like, how is it possible that this is a hypothesis that David McQueen has? He doesn't just go get some oil and test it for himself.
You can buy crude oil. That's a thing you can do.
It's just so easy. God, the bar is on the floor in the basement. It's like, it's unbelievable.
Ask Zion Oil for some of their oil. They've got the most Christian oil of all the oil.
Yeah. We happen to know someone who's got a couple shares in Zion Oil, so we'll
last time I asked, he was up 3 pennies on his Zion Oil shares.
Oh my God, it's not quite GME, but we're getting there.
Maybe that's the next thing that Wall Street Bets can decide to buy up is Zion Oil again.
Oh my God, can you even imagine?
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
After 10,000 years, the rock would crack, releasing all of its pressure.
No, it wouldn't.
Well, then why do we still have oil pressure today?
Because the rock wouldn't crack, because the rock is itself already under pressure, so it can do things like plastically deform if there's a pressure shock. And those are going to be slow anyway, because it's geology and everything is slow, Eric.
The Earth is billions of years old. If oil formed millions of years ago, like evolution claims, well then, why do we still have oil pressure in the world today?
Is he complaining like that oil should be acting like a balloon?
Kind of. Like, eventually it should just be like so overpressure that it just kind of pops, but there's no reason to think that.
Or there's a slow release of pressure?
I don't know. I mean, oil...
I'm not sure which way he's going here, is what I'm saying. I don't know if he's trying to say that it should burst and there should be no pressure, or that it's been such a long time that all the pressure should have been released. I don't know what he's trying to say.
I think he also thinks that that oil basins are just like filled to the brim exclusively with oil, and that's like all that's in there. I mean, most oil basins, to my knowledge, are also chock full of natural gas that is kind of on top of the oil, right? So this idea that it's just oil fit to burst at any moment, our civilization will come crumbling down because of the pressure of the oil.
You know what it'll be like? It'll be like there's a scene in Godzilla King of the Monsters where Scylla bursts up from an oil field, and there's a whole bunch of like oil that floods up to the top as it like crawls out. That's just going to be the whole world. That's
the whole
thing. Of Alberta is just going to sink in a pit of oil. The whole province.
Hey, it'll make gathering that oil cheap. Oil, at least gas prices will probably go down.
At long last.
Hey man, I remember back in like 2000, what was it, like 10, when the oil was like way more expensive than it is now. So
wasn't it like $5 a gallon at one point?
There was a lot of places where $5. There were in some parts of California it was more.
Oh God.
So yeah, like I look at this gas prices now, and I remember like, hey, when I was in the Navy, there was a point where I decided to walk to work several miles rather than have to pay for that gas because it was getting really expensive. So.
The wild thing is, we just have electric cars, and we've had them for a long time. Like, it's wild to me that we even, and I say this, I don't have a car right now, but it blows my mind that we even still have gas cars. Like, it surprises me that that's not subsidized to shit,
Well, it won't fix the trucks. You're not gonna get a truck on a battery.
That's true. But we could at least make the transition on passenger trucks.
For the most part.
There's a few issues with that, which are probably not topical for this stream.
Yeah. Sorry.
100 years ago, and literally got squished into oil.
Wait, hold on.
And we still have oil pressure today because God's word is squish. Plants and animals got buried in the flood. If oil formed millions of years ago, like evolution
I feel like
claims,
I missed something here.
Well, then why do we still have oil pressure in the world today? I believe it's because plants and animals got buried in the flood 4,400 years ago and literally got squished into oil.
That's not entirely how it works, but I guess it's kind of starting how it works. But we have $5 from Roden last name who says, "Poop, one of my clients just tested positive for COVID. Wish me luck and hope it doesn't spread to my entire residential population." Oh man, that's rough.
Be safe.
Yeah,
be safe.
I mean, look, start the at-home distancing right now if you can, and get tested ASAP. Wear your mask even when you're home and around your family,
and get yourself some ice cream and get to the doctor.
Yeah,
I think you gotta wait a couple days before you can get tested accurately.
Well, yeah.
So self-isolate for 4 days, then get tested,
Just
right?
Get your friends, figure out who's gonna go buy groceries for you.
Rip. I hate when that happens. Boy, don't you just hate when a pandemic happens?
Yeah, oh gosh darn.
Always ruins my day.
It's so rough, how inconvenient.
Matt B says there won't be a shortage of oil for centuries. I don't actually expect there to ever really be an oil shortage that isn't artificially created. Because as the price of oil increases, the incentive to use alternative fuels also increases, and people do less of the behaviors that require oil and more of the behaviors that don't. Which is what we saw in like that gas price hike that I was talking about. There's
also a case where it's not like oil is no longer being produced naturally.
We are using it faster than it's being produced.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying that there's also an influx that still exists.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't actually expect an oil shortage will ever actually happen. It's sort of like there's no gold shortage, even though we've been mining gold for a really long time, but it's still not like
diamonds.
Yeah. So basically, this is sort of like macroeconomics, like first week or so.
Oh God, here we go.
Shortages.
Manufactured scarcity, baby.
Well, that's the thing. Shortages have to be manufactured in a market economy, because unless you're actually manipulating the market, either on the private or the public end, it's basically impossible to have a shortage because of basically the price will meet to clear the market. I don't want to super get into P and Q graphs, but yeah.
There's also a difference between raw materials and something that has been manufactured.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about a car versus if you're talking about the raw materials to make said car. So if you're treating oil as a little bit more of a raw material and diamond, which is a little bit more of a raw material type thing, there's a big difference between I don't have enough rocks and I don't have enough people who are jewelers to create this watch in a large enough quantity.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. And we still have oil pressure today because God's word is true. It's only about 4,400 years old after the flood.
I would really like to see any of his math on any of this stuff, but we've been given nothing on that.
No math.
No.
They say petrification takes millions of years to do. No, it doesn't. Petrification can take place.
Skipping over damaged area. Uh-oh. What happened? I didn't know that this was coming, guys. Sorry.
Ooh, rip. Wait, I sure hope we get some polystrate fossils in here. He seems like the type who would
By
really
that,
like
you can tell
polystrate
how.
fossils.
I think this whole thing is a damaged area.
Yeah.
My guess is that this was actually a rip from a VHS, and like that part of the tape got all scuffed up or something.
This is a goddamn disaster zone.
For all the talk about oil, this guy sure is a fossil fool.
Oh, with the puns.
Anybody?
I'm drinking for that joke.
But
How long it's been growing.
I've been
Guess
looking
what?
for a spot to slip that in for a while.
Oh, we talking about the Great Barrier Reef.
Oh,
Great
good.
Barrier Reef has been growing for about 4,200 years.
Citation needed,
Oh
because
my
everything
God.
I've seen says that it's
No.
way older than that.
I've also seen a lot of things saying that it's actually getting smaller because we suck.
It is currently getting smaller, yeah, because of humans. Coral bleaching is a serious problem for the Great Barrier Reef. It's significantly down in size. But like,
You want to help with global warming? Stop worrying about trees that are above ground and start worrying about trees that are in the water.
It's honestly just the acidity is just screwing with the zooxanthellae of those corals. You know, they just can't. They need it in order to perform metabolic activity.
Here we go. About 8,000 years old, according to the quickest of Google searches. So,
Awesome.
no,
Awesome.
it's nearly twice as old as how old Erik here seems to think it is. Because of course. Also,
Wrong.
how would a global flood not...
Wrong. Eric's wrong. He's wrong. You're wrong.
How did coral survive a global flood? Because coral aren't exactly the kind of thing that can swim up to, clear waters. That would have been an extinction event for all coral unless they were on the ark.
So the funny thing about that too is that prior to the coral that we have now, which is, I believe, stony coral, there used to be a type of coral called rugose coral, and rugose coral just thrived prior to, I want to say, the Permian wiped it out. Let me double check that. Either way, there was a whole different type of coral ecosystem prior to its extinction during one of the big five. I'm trying to remember which one it is. And somehow, since all the flood layers are all the mass, also encompass all the mass extinction layers, that flood would have had to destroy all of those different types of coral therein. So obviously coral does not thrive during a global flood, but for whatever reason, the type of coral we have today is just doing fine, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why didn't it destroy the stony coral?
Yeah, no, that's what that's what I'm asking, right?
It's crazy. All right, here we go. Let's get a little bit more in.
Interesting.
No, it's not.
If the Earth has been here for 4.6 billion years, why hasn't coral grown all the way around Australia?
Oh my God.
I'm taking a drink. Not everywhere is suitable for coral, Erik, you titanic moron.
Also, by the way, I nailed it. It was the Permian, the rugose coral
Awesome.
thing.
If it's growing at such a rate, why isn't there an entire island just only made out of coral?
Actually, there are a few. Yeah, that's actually a thing. So sometimes coral will grow around like an atoll or something, and then if there's volcanic uplift, it'll raise some of the coral reef up out of the ocean, and then you'll have an island that it's basement rock essentially.
Yeah, but why is it not continent sized?
Oh yeah.
Is it because that's what a continent is?
Magnets, baby.
Yeah, it's because of magnets.
Oh, it's because of the magnets.
Right.
A couple times. I think this is evidence that fits perfectly with the creation worldview, which says about 6,000 years ago.
I think this thing that I made up works really well with this other thing.
Years ago, there was a flood that destroyed the.
His entire argument is, let's find things that I can say with some reasonableness are about 4,000 years old. If I can find such things, therefore flood. That's the entire
Do you think I could just Google that? Do you think I could just Google list of things on the Earth that are about this old?
Maybe.
Yes, I think you could. And the funny thing is that it's like the oldest thing that you can find should dictate the oldest age of the range of the Earth, right? So it's like,
but he's going with the ship analogy, which is a really bad analogy.
He's doing it in the opposite direction, though.
Mm-hmm. Right,
I'm shoehorning the coin analogy, ship coin analogy back in.
Oh, you're not shoehorning. That's how he started today. Remember, when we were starting this off, he was picking up that coin. This has all just been an extended version of that analogy.
Oh my God. Okay, this is the last one I can do, and I gotta blow, but I'm ready.
World, and now here we are today, and the Great Barrier Reef is only 4,200 years old. Niagara Falls is eroding backwards. It's consistently eroding away at the rock ledge.
Yeah,
when you study Niagara Falls, you'll find out it's only been eroding about a 7.5 mile gorge, and they say about
9,900 years. So Erik, I want to hear what Erik says is the reason that this isn't a problem for him.
I don't understand why it would be a problem in any regard. Well, why
because
would
this
that?
Is older than he thinks the universe is.
But where would the?
there's a newborn child every second, therefore the Earth is only a second old at any given time. Nope.
Time is relative, man. Time is relative.
I want to see how he explains away the fact that this is 9,900 years old according to his source, and that's not a
he's
problem.
not gonna.
Might
He's
not.
gonna say that that's actually a problem for the Earth being old.
Oh, why isn't there an older Niagara Falls somewhere?
I don't know.
100 years is the age that they came up with for Niagara Falls.
They came up
Well,
with.
you throw one flood in there, and that makes up about half of it. And now the
No, it doesn't! There would be a floodplain. There would be a spillway.
Just
These
throw
are-
one flood in there. That needs to be put on a loop. Dapper, can you please click that back and keep hitting play over and over and just get the flood.
Oh,
flood.
man. Like, how half-assed can you get? You know, I mean, there's
100 years
so
is
we've
the age
reached
that they
three
came up with
stages
for
here,
Niagara
right?
Falls.
We've got misunderstanding
Well, you
a
thought-
concept entirely.
Ah.
We've got misrepresenting a paper, and we've got making shit up on the fly.
I just screwed that up because I was
You
trying
didn't
to.
actually have to do it.
There should
Don't
be
break
the amount of mineral
it.
content in the oceans. What about caves? You guys ever gone in a
Ow.
cave and gone?
Why are you doing this to me?
Gone into a cave? They got these
Ooh.
stalactites and stalagmites. Those.
I'm gonna
there's
take
so much
responsibility
fun.
for this.
You guys
I'm
like
sorry.
Give me,
Okay,
give me
but
a
I
second.
love going into caves and checking that stuff
It's
out.
Praise's
The
fault.
problem
He's always,
is,
it's
a lot
always
of people
his fault
teach
about that.
that the caves took millions of years to
What do I
form.
want?
They
That's what I
say
want.
that just a couple inches of a stone.
All right, so we're gonna try and restart that up, reshare. Sorry about that, everybody. That's really my fault for misclicking, but I'm still gonna blame Chesh. So you know,
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take that.
okay.
Yeah, Beowulf. One flood is equal to 4,500 years. That's the conversion.
Let's see if I can get back there. That's the mammoth. Sorry, you guys aren't seeing it, but
We can stop.
all right.
Oh,
Let's share.
And that makes up about half
Share
of
with
it.
you two.
And now the river has been eroding backwards.
Okay,
since
Daps,
then.
it's okay.
So,
I gotta blow
I would
anyways.
say
I gotta
Niagara
get out of
Falls
here.
probably.
All right. Well, I will talk to you later. I'll bring the video back up for everyone else.
Okay, bye, guys.
Bye. All right. So we're actually not going to go a huge amount longer. We're maybe like, I don't know, another 18 or so minutes. Does that work for you? Okay. Here we go.
About 4,400 years old, not millions or billions of years old.
Again, where's your math? Where's your evidence that a flood actually caused this? Where's the spillway? Where's any of the things that we would need to have to conclude that it was a flood? Because the thing is, I don't know if Erik knows, but there are things that people like, mainstream real scientists have concluded are the result of floods. You know what they all have in common? Evidence of a flood!
This is this kind of thing that I mentioned yesterday on Caffeine Corner, where the lack of seeing, like the lack of evidence can be indicative of something. Now, you can't use it as a cop-out to say that, well, I just, lack whatever, I lack information or I lack evidence. You can say, what would we expect to see if this were the case? And if we don't see that thing,
Right.
you don't see the things that you would expect to see, then there's reason to dismiss, there's justification to dismiss the conclusion that's being proposed, or the theory, or the idea, or the proposition.
That was basically the whole talk I had with Otangelo on my channel. Was, hey, falsification, It's a thing. Your ideas have already been falsified. Thank you for playing.
Right, yeah. So you have this situation where it's like, we're going to posit a flood. Okay, I would be curious. I would actually, I haven't seen anybody ask this question, and maybe somebody has, and if they have, please let me know what you think the answer, or what they gave. Ask someone like Kent Hovind to explain to you, what do you expect to see from a flood that's local? What do you expect to see what are the signs that a flood has historically taken place?
Yeah.
Because I'm willing to bet they don't know what they are.
Oh, probably not. Also, we have from Monk Mayfair. I just realized from this pause that Erik is in a red shirt and black pants. He's literally dressed as a red shirt. And I hadn't thought about that, but he is. He now is a salt vampire. Got one salt vampire in here, and Erik is just done.
I feel like I'm probably a salt vampire.
I mean, do you suck salt from people's bodies through your fingertips?
Probably.
Oh, well then maybe.
Allegedly. I definitely have a lot of vampire qualities, and I'm very salty.
Then you might very well be a salt vampire.
Well,
It couldn't have been. Guys, the evidence of the Earth being young is obvious, and we look for the young coins. We don't look for the old ones. We look.
Yeah, to tell when that.
There's the coins.
My goodness, the coin. I drink for the coins. We're just gonna do it.
Drink for the coins.
So we've already talked about this, but Erik with Erika only comes up once a month or so, and it's been a while. So Erik's analogy is, you find like a sunken galleon full of coins. You want to know when the ship sank. Well, whatever the last stamp on the coin, the last date stamped on a coin is, gives you some kind of limit as to when the ship could have sunk. But the problem is that you're not trying to ask when did the Earth blow up. You're trying to ask when did it form, which would be like asking, well, when was the keel laid for the ship? And in that case, the coins are worthless. You have to look at things like testing the wood and seeing how old the oldest wood is. That might give you an idea.
You might be able to use the coins dates to give you a rough estimate as to when sometime around this time the ship may have been built. Maybe.
Although you can always load on really old coins, so it's iffy.
Yeah, right. So you're in a situation where they might give you an idea of where to start looking, but certainly nothing conclusive.
Yeah.
Let alone if you started asking a question about, like, well, when was the rope made? Because that could have been any time.
Yeah, so it's a really bad analogy. And it's an intentionally bad analogy, because if you look for the youngest coin, okay, well, Erik, why don't you look for the youngest fruit fly egg that's hatched? Does that put a limit on when the Earth could have been formed? Because all that he's doing is going around and finding things that don't have to have formed when the Earth did, and saying, hey, look, it's this old. Okay, great.
In Erik's defense, he is positing that the Earth was formed in the way that it is, except for a flood. So all of the animals and all of that would be already made.
Yeah, but my point is,
depending on what he accepts
he's
with
just picking
tectonics.
other similarly temporary features, right?
Yeah, it's for the most part arbitrary. But the thing that's bizarre to me is that he's picking and choosing things when we have man-made things that we can look at that are older. So it's
the whole thing is nonsense.
Falls apart real quick.
Look for the young evidences, not the old ones, okay? How about this?
Yeah, don't look for the old evidences.
Yeah, that might ruin your whole point.
I think he may have just given the game away.
Oh, he gave it away before you even got here.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Oceans today are 3.6% salt.
Oh,
They
God,
could easily go from freshwater to 3.6% salt in less than 5,000 years. How come the salt content in the oceans fits consistently with the creation worldview and not with the evolution?
Okay, so I'm taking a drink.
Because your question is incredibly catered to your conclusion.
Okay, so this argument actually, as far as I know, originated back with the book Scientific Creationism by Henry Morris, way back in the 70s. I have a copy of this book, and my bookmark in this book is on the page that makes this argument. Because it makes the argument that because of the mineral content in the ocean, and how much actually washes into the ocean from rivers each year, you can go back and calculate how long ago the oceans would have been fresh water. But the thing is, they include aluminum as one of the dissolved minerals, and it has an accumulation time on the actual chart that Henry Morris put in his book of 100 years. Which means, either, according to this logic where you look for the youngest evidence, the Earth is 100 years old or less, or it means you can't use the accumulation of salts in the ocean to date the Earth, because salts get removed from the ocean as well as washing in.
It doesn't... he is trying to pick up things that are not... We talked about that. They're not permanent. Things that are not permanent fixtures to try and measure to say that when this became a common thing for us to see must be when everything else it started,
Yeah.
or at least to the point of the flood. And it's just things don't work. That the Earth is this old because this tree is this tall, as if the Earth couldn't exist before that tree.
Plus, the oldest tree is significantly older than 4,000 years old, so...
Also that,
Whoops.
yes. Oops.
Evolutionary worldview. Because if evolution is true and the world's been here for millions of years, the ocean should be kind of like the Dead Sea right now.
No.
You shouldn't even be able to get in those things, man. That's how bad.
Look, you already accept that subduction happens, and one of the things that subduction does is it takes minerals and shoves them into the mantle of the Earth and out of the ocean.
What about the effect that all those magnets would have on the ocean?
Oh, yeah. What's it going to do with all those salt ions? They're going to do something, right?
I don't know.
Bad they should be, the amount of mineral content in the oceans. What about caves? You guys ever gone in a cave and gone spelunking? Gone into a cave? They got these stalactites and stalagmites.
Only Minecraft.
That is so much fun. Some of you guys are like, you're a geek. Okay, but I love going into caves and checking that stuff out. The problem is, a lot of people teach that the caves took millions of years to form. They say that just a couple inches of a stalactite take 1,000 years to form. Really?
Yes, really. And I know where he's going with this, but yes, really. And I'm going to take a drink because I think that was a joke.
Oh, was it? I thought he was
It's hard
just
to
being
tell.
saucy.
Yeah. No.
There's an attitude here.
Oh, definitely.
They ain't come from me. This time. Yet.
It usually does.
Currently. Right this second. Maybe
1,000 years for just a couple inches. Okay? Well, here are some 50-inch long stalactites hanging underneath the Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah, okay. Oh my goodness, I'm going to take a drink.
Okay, while you're doing that, have you noticed there's a problem when he says that, well, if this were the case, then this would be a problem, and then doesn't roll over how this problem would affect this problem. So if he's saying that magnets are a problem over here, and then he's saying, and stalactites are a problem, but he's not explaining how the problem with magnets would affect stalactites, or salt, or the forming of a mountain, or etc., etc. So you've got this thing where he's bringing up all these problems, but he's not very good at correlating them together, and it's probably because they don't. Like, as soon as you look at them and how one would affect the other, it falls apart. So he presents them as if they're all individuals, when one would affect the other if that were the case.
Yeah. So, and here's the thing specifically with this, these stalactites. Yes. Sorry, I think that's right. I always get them confused. So the big problem here with this is that these are not the same kind of rock. This is basically like a calcium deposit, right? And you want to know why calcium deposits sink into the basement of the Lincoln Memorial? It's because it's mostly made of concrete, and calcium is a big part of concrete. So when it starts to dissolve in water, which it does pretty easily, and that water drips down and starts to evaporate off of the ceiling, it leaves behind calcium deposits. However, when you're in like a giant limestone cave, that can't happen as easily. It's a much harder to deposit substance. So yes, some kinds of rock formations can happen quickly, but that's because chemistry is important. And how much do you think he's going to talk about the chemical composition of these quick-growing stalactites versus the chemical composition that we find in those caves that you're warned about not touching the stalactites?
He's already being dishonest in suggesting that they are the same kinds of rocks and not acknowledging that different kinds of rocks even exist. It's the same problem that you have with the magnets and knowing that there are different kinds of magnets.
Yeah.
Excuse me. The Lincoln Memorial was built in 1922. Or was it? Mm-hmm. They knew Lincoln was going to show up.
You gotta laugh, though.
Oh, he did. Did we drink for it? What do you think?
I didn't laugh.
Okay, well, I didn't either. I barely even noticed it was a joke, so I guess I'll drink.
Up here, oh yeah, knew what was going on. No, stalactites and stalagmites don't take millions of years to form. They actually form very, very quickly.
No, what you forgot was the word some, Eric. Some stalactites don't take millions of years to form. That's not the same as
he put the caveat.
stalactites.
He put the caveat on the caves. ones that form in caves, they say take millions of years. Nobody's saying the ones underneath the Lincoln Memorial took millions of years.
They shut down a cave, a mine, where they were digging up for coal. They shut down the coal mine, went back 55 years later, and found a fully formed stalactites and stalagmite cave.
And what were they made of, Eric?
Huge area in just 55 years. The TB fountain up in Wyoming. I got to go to school in Wyoming at Jackson Hole Bible College, and this TB...
I would hate to go to school in Wyoming. Wyoming is so useless. My goodness.
Oh.
The whole state has a lower population than almost any city I've ever lived in.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't even have 1 million people. It's got like 100,000 or something.
I'm in Canada. There's a handful of cities and because of the up north spots.
But have you lived in them?
That are like that. Oh God, no, not me.
Yeah, see?
Would I mind? Probably not. I might not mind moving to the Yukon if they had good internet.
Too cold. I would hate it. I don't even want to visit the Yukon.
Nah. I like winter.
I'll visit, like, you know, the southern parts of some of the provinces. Like, you know, I'll go to BC or Toronto or, you know.
So if I ever need to get away from Dapper and I fear for my life from this dinosaur, I go to the Yukon.
I can't even imagine something that you could do that would make me want to get to you so badly that I would be willing to go to the Yukon just to do it.
That's fair.
The fountain began just 100 years ago, and now it's huge, absolutely massive. Okay, at the current rate of erosion.
Oh, is it 550,000 people? All right, fine. Wyoming has 550,000 people. It's still, there's no one there. You drive through Wyoming and it's just empty fields and pronghorn.
The continent should have eroded flat 14 million years ago.
No, why would, that's only if there isn't any uplift. I'm taking another drink. Eric, we watch mountains grow. People measure the growth of mountains in real time, in the real world. All that you have to have for the continents not to erode flat is for there to be uplift that either meets or sometimes exceeds erosion over periods of time. That's it. That's all it takes.
Million years, you should have no continents left, only water because of the erosion.
No, because you cannot erode below sea level as a whole. Because where would it erode to?
There's also biology that gets in the way, right? So if you're talking about wind speed going too fast and causing erosion, you're talking about ocean causing erosion, there's things that grow on the side of water that limits that or slows it down. So if a wave is crashing against something, sometimes they're not hit it, the wave or very little of that wave is actually hitting the rock that's there. It's hitting trees that have grown along the side.
And also roots
like that.
help hold on to soil.
Exactly. So it doesn't get washed away that simply.
That's why a lot of times if you're at a beach, you'll notice that when the grass starts growing in the dunes, that's when the dunes are basically, they sometimes get a little like cliff-like face right there. Because it's harder to erode that sand that has the grass roots in it. Because the roots hold on to the sediment. So yeah, all of this, it's just nonsense.
Well, I see a problem there. We've got rock 300 times older than that, still above sea level.
It's okay, we already explained that.
Yeah.
It's obvious. The world is young, not old. How come the very first forms of writing appeared just about 5,000 years ago? Not millions of years ago.
No.
Oh, why did...
Wrong.
Let's just accept it. Why did writing start about 5,000 years ago, and then people who were trying to come up with an origin story for the current civilizations that they were seeing set that story at about the same time that those civilizations appeared? I wonder, how could that possibly have happened?
Does that, wait, if the Earth is 6,000 years old, and the writing started 1,000 years after the Earth started, where where is the flood in there? Is it 4,000?
Well, that is one problem. Is according to him, writing started, what is it, 600 years
Before
the
the flood.
And I guess people just carried on those civilizations right through the flood somehow.
And don't acknowledge it?
Yeah, no, the Egyptians, they all died. Then
there's
new
no
people
break.
came in, started writing in their language again, but they weren't the Egyptians anymore. They were new Egyptians, apparently, I guess.
New York.
Yeah, it's...
French is a dead language. I have so many questions. Okay.
How come the
All right,
oldest
Eric.
language that can be reconstructed is already modern and sophisticated? Where's our evolution?
Because languages were grammatically complex before they're written. We know this for a fact. We can go to places that don't have written language, and their languages are not themselves simple or non-full-featured.
Is he saying that language didn't exist until writing existed?
I guess, I think, or maybe he's just confused as to how you could have a persistent language for very long without it being written down, even though we know of thousands of such languages.
Isn't that part of the passing down of stories from the Bible to get to a point where they could be written down?
Oh, no, he thinks that Noah wrote the parts of the Bible about the flood.
Oh.
Yeah.
What about the people who were told information from angels and then wrote it down?
Well, then they
That's
wrote
still
it down.
language to written, though.
Well, yeah. But it would be like,
instant?
Well, not instant, but it's like, hey, this guy just told me this thing, so I wrote it down. It's like maybe they get a few words wrong here or there, but then again, they're inspired by God, so no.
So I wrote, I had a dream, I woke up and I wrote down.
Yeah.
I feel like there's too many problems with this. Sounds like he's at the point where he sounds like a conspiracy theorist.
A little bit. Well, I mean, he is. You have to be... If young Earth creationism were true, it would mean that basically all of academia is one giant conspiracy.
Yeah, fair enough. Because this is we're in a situation where he's just like, I'm a poke holes, I'm going to acknowledge my hole, and then I'm going to just detract from it without ever addressing any of the things that I'm actually saying.
All right, let's see what he has to say about cuneiform.
Of language. We don't have that
nothing.
today.
Okay.
Our year 2000 was the year 4700 on the Chinese calendar.
I don't actually know if that's true, and it doesn't sound right. And even if it were, again, why does the Chinese calendar start before the flood, Eric, if you want to use this as evidence of the flood?
And also, why would one group of people have to use the same dating system?
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I just don't know.
What if they weren't counting rotations of the Earth around the sun?
Oh, now
what
here
if
he
they
has...
weren't counting days the same
Maybe
way?
they started with the birth of Shem or Noah before the flood. I'll tell you what, Eric, when you can actually find me that actual Chinese myth that really actually lines up with the flood story and Noah and his sons, let me know. And then when you find out why they started their dating system 4,700 years before the year 2000, and it lines up with that, then maybe.
Atheist linguist, who's hilarious by the way, is in the chat, and they said, me Tarzan, you Jane, was pretty much the height of eloquence before writing.
And one of the things that I hate is that we can reconstruct a lot of language families well before any language in that family was written down. Like, we actually have a pretty good handle on what like Proto-West Semitic was like, or what
Do you think it
Proto-Indo-European
would
was
blow
like.
Eric's mind if you were to say that a letter is just a picture that represents something that we understand?
It's just lines on paper.
It's just lines on paper, man.
Maybe.
Interesting. Hey, I believe that there are historical records that go back only about 6,000 years, which fits
Good for you.
perfectly with the creation world view.
You know, he's right, there are. And they're in
Yes.
places that aren't just like, Mount Ararat. So it, again, defeats your idea that there was a flood 4,400 years ago. So I'll take a drink.
He's
The Earth is
also got like this really specific thing that he said though, right? He says, I believe that there are writings that go back 6,000 years. But that doesn't say anything about there not being writing that went back further than 6,000
Well, to be fair, there
years.
really isn't much that goes back much farther than that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying about is that he said something very specific.
Yeah.
Right? And so it doesn't actually address what he's talking
Yeah,
about.
he should have
It's
said-
just an arbitrary
You should have said the
statement.
oldest historical records go back to 6,000 years. That might have helped his point.
not millions or billions of years old.
No one.
Who says writing? There's writing that's billions of years old.
Literally no one. Well, okay, no. There might be some. There are some groups of Hindus who believe that civilization, including writing, goes back way farther than mainstream science thinks. They're like super old Earth. So they're okay. So not literally no one, but basically only people who are crazy in the other direction from the way that Erik is crazy.
Sorry.
And I don't even know how some of them would justify that, because you could go down the justification route of rebirth and the whole reincarnation thing, and say that, well, the Earth in its entirety is reincarnated every so often, so that would then the writing in that writing that's so old is kept in the heavens or something like that.
Let's try to get through a little bit more. We've only got 40 seconds. We'll play it out.
Evidence is in the Earth is young. You say, well, what about the dinosaurs? I thought they did live 75 million years ago.
Oh, that's coming up later.
That's a good question. What about the dinosaurs? We'll have to talk about that in another session. But for now, let's close with this. The evidence for a young Earth greatly outweighs any evidence.
Taking a drink for that.
Thank you guys for being here tonight. Have a great evening.
All right. Thank you, Erik. It was something. All right, so...
I think Dapper would do a better job presenting Kent Hovind's shtick than Erik does presenting Kent Hovind's
That's why every time Kent Hovind flakes out on a debate, on modern day debate, I say, hey, James, I'll just take Hovind's side. I know all of his arguments. And James, for some reason...
I know how to run the script.
Yeah, for some reason, James never takes me up on that. But, all right.
Maybe you should one day.
You should. I think it would be fun.
Maybe we'll do it on Non Sequitur sometime.
Do it. I'll do it. But anyway,
yeah, we'll get you to be Kent, and we'll get somebody else to be something else, and have like a fun pretend Kent Hovind parody debate.
So I am going to be uploading tonight the next Speculative Evolution update. So if you've been waiting for that, that should be out on Thursday. Unfortunately, that means my patrons probably won't get it early. But speaking of Patreon, there have been a couple changes. If you would like, you can now get a 15% discount if you do a annual subscription. So that's the lowest price for that is $10.20. We'll get you a year at the $1 patron tier, and then it goes up to the $5 tier, which is going to be it's like $52 or something if you wanted to be for an entire year at that tier. That's one big change. Attendant with that is also that now if you do sign up monthly, you'll be charged for that first month. So unfortunately, because I don't update my credits more than once a month, you won't get on the credits until next month, but you will have access to all the posts that your tier gives you access to, which is the final big thing on Patreon, which is for people doing 10 or up. I've added a new perk, which is basically you get some of the art assets that I make for my 3D work just uploaded right to Patreon. So if you are someone who likes to play around with Blender or something, I'll upload things like models, procedural materials, stuff like that. So right now, there's a model from the Speculative Evolution project that's up there. I'm going to put more up there later. There's also some procedural materials that'll go up there. So yeah, and basically I was feeling like going from $1 to $5 got you your name on my end credits, because $1 is basically just you can watch things early, you have access to the Discord server, whatever. But then going from 5 to 10, there was basically nothing that really changed. You got a different color on the Discord server. Oh, whoop-de-doo. So now, if you're doing 10 or more, you get art assets at least one a month. It's almost certainly going to be more than that, because when I finish creating something, there's a really high chance I'm just going to toss it up on there. Unfortunately, you won't be able to get all of the files that I use to render all of my scenes, because some of them I have textures that or even in some cases a few models that I've purchased, and so I'm not allowed to distribute them. So I'm allowed to use them in commercial works, but I can't distribute them. So unfortunately, that means that some of those files I can't just send out to you, but you will get a lot of that. So yeah, I think that's it. So Saturday, I think I'm going to upload a mirror of a stream that I did on Erika's channel. And then next Tuesday, Kent with Bent is back live, assuming that Bent is up for it, which I think he will be. He said he would be. There you go. Chesh, any last words? Anything you want to plug?
I mean, I've got my channel. I just did a thing talking about like a little bit more social stuff. That's kind of what I do. I talk a little bit more psychology, a little bit more sociology, and maybe a touch more philosophy. So, I mean, you can go follow me over there to talk about that kind of stuff, where we would kind of maybe, if we were looking at Erik, we would be talking about what made him this way? Why are you like this? Those are kind of the questions we ask over there. There's some updates coming to that time of the month, so that's going to be back. There's a little bit of a format change, so hopefully you guys will enjoy that. It kind of broadens the conversation and broadens the number of perspectives that are brought into the conversation.
Nice.
We have, I've got a Patreon, and that's got D&D stuff, so if you're interested in D&D stuff and assets for that, you're welcome to go over there. And if you want to buy Puck a present, there's an Amazon wish list for him.
Nice.
All that fun stuff.
And there is actually one
Follow
thing.
me for shenanigans.
There's one thing that I almost forgot.
I'm going live on Thursday.
It is
about
that,
economics.
What? Economics? Oh.
I'm going live on Thursday about that Wall Street bets stuff.
Oh,
I'm not really talking specifically about the Wall Street bet stuff. It's more about like, it's a demonstration and a write-through that somebody did along with articles about, I think it was Dan Price is his name. He's a CEO that is he's kind of walking through and demonstrating how the stock market is not, it does not mirror reality of a company.
Yeah. There is one final thing I want to point out, and it is that myself, Erika, and Jackson Wheat, this Friday, Darwin Day, are going to be speaking at an event hosted by the MIT Secular Society for Darwin Day. A link to the event page is in the description. That is actually an event being put on by the MIT Secular Society. If it weren't current year, I would probably end up at MIT for this, because this is the kind of thing where they normally have speakers come in. But of course, current pandemic means that we're video conferencing in. But yeah, so the three of us, if you like any of us, we will be there on Thursday. And that starts at, let me double check. That starts at about 7 p.m. Eastern. So that is, what is that? 4 p.m. Pacific, and it will go for about an hour and a half. And so we are all preparing little talks about how creationist rhetoric and arguments have changed over the past few decades. So, and of course, I'm going to be talking about things like dinosaurs. Erika will be talking about monkey, and Jackson will be covering virtually anything that isn't those two things, because Jackson knows a lot about a lot of stuff.
Jackson is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Reject humanity, embrace monkey.
All right, and with that, I will see you guys later. Play the outro video, and bye! I'd like to just take a moment to thank my channel members and patrons, especially those pledging $20 or above: Ben Tovand, Ian Chen, Chris Love, Sphincter of Doom, and The Venerable Bede. My channel members and patrons help make this a much more stable income, because as you might know, ad income varies wildly from month to month, even with the same number of views. And it really helps this channel stay on the air. But if a monthly pledge or a yearly pledge, which I have now activated, isn't right for you, there's a merch store linked in the description, and every like, share, and subscription really helps the channel grow. Also, starting this month, those pledging $10 or above will have access to free 3D art assets, including materials and models, which will be made for Blender by me and can be used in any project without crediting me